perfect world, that works, I think. And we'll double check over here and make sure I'm not crazy. Let's press this button, and then go back over to that button. Cool, this guy still works. Love it. Yeah, so buddy of mine, G, who we love and has done above and beyond as far as what we can hope for friendship, has, and my wife has really advocated for me to read this book, and I need things to read to record, and I'm just gonna enfold these both as being the same thing and trying to knock out two birds with one stone. So I will be doing a recorded reading of Sabriel by Garth Nix, which is, I read a little bit of it a couple weeks back, before I had the influx of jobs that I did and just the sort of vyings for general drives and focuses that be. But now I'm going to actually give that a go, try and read it in a more like full sort of setting, as it were. Man, but my network error is like acting, my whole network thing is acting super odd. I'm not gonna pretend like I understand it. I'm just out. Jesus. God, hi me. Yep, that's me. Okay. Good. Not pause, just volume. Great. Good. Okay. So I'm going to turn off this mouse. Actually, I'm going to pull up Audacity, not Audible, because Audible is Amazon. You know, I need to remember that, because I keep doing that. Alright. And then I guess I can just give this to my wife after I'm done with it, and she can just have a full reading of one of her favorite books by me just for her, because I don't think I can use this in any fashion. I mean, maybe for clippings of auditions and things, which would be nice, but you know, nothing crazy. I'll try and just get through the prologue. If I've got enough time to get to the chapter one, I guess I can always edit title. I don't really know. We'll figure it out though. So just out the gate, let's remove this as an element, because I know I'm going to bump into something and I'm going to move it. I'm going to be mad. Okay. Bop, 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 bop. All right. Let's see here. Sabriel by Garth Nix. And it's definitely pronounced Sabriel. I'm not fucking that up. Hold on. So real quick, what's that sound like again? Sabriel. Oh my god, so loud. Right, my playback volume's all the way up from last night. Let's put that down to 675. It's Sabriel. Sabriel, not Sabriel. Sabriel. Sabriel by Garth Nix. Prologue. It was little more than 3 miles from the wall into the Old Kingdom, but that was enough. Noonday sunshine could be seen on the other side of the wall in Alchestershire. Nope, hold on. Gotta get the name pronunciation correct. 1 second. Ancelstier. In Ancelstier, and not a cloud in sight. Here, there was a clouded sunset, and a steady rain had just begun to fall, coming faster than the tents could be raised. The midwife shrugged her cloak higher up against her neck and bent over the woman again. Raindrops spilling from her nose onto the upturned. Where the fuck am I reading from? Onto the upturned face below. There we are. Jeez, okay. Let's see here. I'll move you over there. Onto the upturned face below. Onto the upturned face below. The midwife's breath blew out in a cold... I can't read. That's the problem. That's the main problem with this job, is that I just fucking can't read. Here we go. Onto the upturned face below. Faced? Onto the upturned face below? Onto the upturned face below. Does that even sound normal anymore? At all? Yeah, that does sound normal. That sounds fine. Alright. Try that again. The midwife's breath blew out in cloud of white. Blew out in a cloud of white. In a cloud of white. The midwife's breath blew out in a cloud of white. But there was no answering billow of air from her patient. The midwife sighed and slowly straightened up. That single movement telling the watchers. I probably shouldn't get the page turning in the sound. Let's just get rid of that. Bam. Just from the beginning. The midwife sighed and slowly straightened up. That single movement telling the watchers everything they know. The woman who had staggered into their forest camp was dead, only holding on to life long enough to pass it on to the baby at her side. But even as the midwife picked up the pathetically small form beside the dead woman, it shuddered within its wrappings and was still. "The child, too?" asked one of the watchers, a man who wore the mark of the charter, fresh drawn in wood ash upon his brow. "Then there shall be no need for baptism." His hand went up to brush the mark from his forehead, then suddenly stopped, as a pale white hand gripped his and forced it down in a single swift motion. "Peace," said a calm voice. "I wish you no harm." Okay. Peace. I wish you no harm. Peace. Peace, said a calm voice. I wish you no harm. The white hand released its grip, and the speaker stepped into the ring of firelight. The others watched him without welcome, and the hands that had half-sketched charter marks or gone to bowstrings and hilts. Hi, Josh. Okay, we can do that better, though. And the hands, and the hands, and the hands, and the hands, and the hands. Okay, And the hands that had half-sketched... Oof. We can do better. We can do better, Josh. We can do better, I promise. And the hands that had half-sketched charter marks or gone to bowstrings and hilts did not relax. The man strode towards the bodies and looked up. Then he turned to face the watchers, pushing his hood back to reveal the face of someone who had taken paths far from the sunlight, for his skin was a deathly white. I am called Abhorsen, he said, and his words sent ripples through the people about him, as if he had cast a large and weighty stone in a pool of stagnant water. And there will be a baptism tonight. The charter mage looked down on the bundle in the midwife's hands and said, The child is dead, Abhorsen. We are travelers. Our life lived under the sky, and it is often harsh. We know death, Lord. Not as I do, replied. Her white face crinkled at the corners and drew back from his equally white teeth. And I say, the child is not yet dead. The man tried to meet Abhorsen's gaze, but faltered and looked away at his fellows. None moved or made any sign till a woman said, So, it is easily done. Sign the child, Aranel. We will make a new camp at Leovi's Ford. Join us when you are finished here. The charter mage inclined his head in assent, and the others drifted away to pack up their half-made camp, slow with the reluctance of having to move, but filled. Josh, what are you even doing here? What are you doing here, guy? But filled. Okay, try that again, but this time make it not suck. Do it good this time. But filled. But filled with a greater reluctance to remain near Abhorsen. Okay. For his name was one of secrets and misspoken fears. For his name was one of secrets and unspoken fears. And settle the page. Bam. When the midwife went to the lathe... Pop. Okay. When the midwife went to lay the child down and leave, Abhorsen spoke. Wait. You will be needed. Okay. That makes more sense. When the midwife went to lay the child down and leave, Abhorsen spoke. Wait. You will be needed. The midwife looked down on the baby and saw that it was a girl child, and, save for its stillness, could be merely sleeping. She had heard of a porson, and if the girl could live... Warily, she picked up the child again, and held her out to the charter mage. "If the charter does not," began the man, but a porson held up a pallid hand and interrupted. "Let us see what the charter wills." The man looked at the child again and sighed. Then he took a small bottle from his pouch and held it aloft, crying out a chant that was the beginning of a charter, one that listed all things that lived or grew or once lived or would live again, and the bonds that held them all together. As he spoke, a light came to the bottle, pulsing with the rhythm of the chant. Then the chanter was silent. He touched the bottle to the earth, then to the sign of wood ash on his forehead, and then upended it over the child. A great flash lit the surrounding woods as the glowing liquid splashed over the child's head, and the priest cried, "By the charter that binds all things, we name thee." Normally, the parents of the child would then speak the name. Here, only Abhorsen spoke, and he said, "Sabriel." Okay. So you might even to hedge the Ace on our game with you. Am I going to see Bob today? I'm going to see Bob tomorrow. I need to text him or call him or do something. But we've got a game planned. Mike has a very distinct mic pickups, by the way, so you might something. Can't quite pick up what you're saying there, Gbert. Also, Josh G. G is a good friend of mine. He'll actually be playing in a game with me and Bob tomorrow. Oh, he's also the guy that got me this mic, which I was pretty bummed about. Sabriel is muttered. It is not said. So I really should not say that with as much bolstering as I did. But might be your mic has two distinct pickups. Is that good? Oh, also, how do you want me to announce your name, G? Do you want me to do it in a specific style, or you put your name in there? So I kind of have to do that. I mean, I don't have to do it. I can literally do this for you whenever. You live right down the road from me. But if that's something you wanted, I can make that happen. Sabriel. Let me try that again. And he said, "Sabriel." As he uttered the word, the wood ash disappeared from the priest's forehead and slowly formed on the child's. The charter had accepted the baptism. But she's dead! I didn't love that. You could get good left, right audio. What does that mean? What are you saying? Gee, what are you saying? I don't know what you're saying. I could get good left, right audio? Am I not? What? I don't know what you're saying. No idea. Speaking Martian. Like, okay, here we go. Look in the camera for me, brother. Golly. Hi, brother. You don't have to do that. Brother, what do you want for your announcing? What do you want King Kermit 34 to sound like? Oh, G, Josh, Brandon, G, Josh. You're all... I would categorize you all equally under brother. You all have been called brother by me at some point, which is all a fun category to have right here. So thank you, all three of you, for showing up, and whoever this random other person is. But she is dead. And I think I scared off that random other person. Brother, are you even still there? What do you want?
But she's dead.
Hate yelling me. But hello? Connecting. Whoa, why do you keep doing that? Let's mute you. Hello? Still connecting. Maybe not even here yet. Not popping up here, so I'm probably not popping up there. But if I do this... Golly, stop. Okay. Why? Click here to reload player, let's see. It says that I'm doing the thing. I don't know if it actually means I'm doing the thing. Could not. Still connecting. What if I hit this button? Up, ba da ba 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 da ba. Okay. But you're still good? We can still see you. Hi, G. You can still see me. Look in the camera for me, brother. Great. G, did your power go out? Was that just me? Was that the world? Oh, there again. Up there again. I'm not. I'm just on my phone now. But this can't even, wait. So then this shouldn't be able to, no, because I've got, wait, okay. All right, this is odd, but it just still says connecting. No. Okay, that's fine. Bob. Damn, dude. It's like picking up pretty bad. Connected. That's just you. Okay, your stream's down now. I see that you messaged me that. Now it's back. Okay. But it's still the same one. This is so weird. My building's being odd in this moment, which is not great. But that is what it is. And I guess I will just try and read this quickly. Shit. Only got like 3 pages still. Like 4. Like 6. Okay. Let's see here, 229. We're probably still doing good. That's just you. Stream's still up. No, we can still see you. But now, like, this one isn't updating. That's so weird. But if I do this... Okay. Yeah, that's updated. That's what we like. Here we go. Now, let's do this. Hopefully this wasn't corrupted and I can still use this after this. I'll have to listen to it when I edit it. Okay. But she is dead! Yeah, and it's still mic'd. Also, that was a terrible take. Okay, take that again. But she is dead. No, that doesn't work either. Okay. But she is dead. Yeah, that's better. More of a lilt. But she is dead! Exclaimed the charter mage, gingerly touching his forehead to make sure the ash was truly gone. He got no answer, for the midwife was staring across the fire at Abhorsen, and Abhorsen was staring at nothing. His eyes reflected the dancing flames, but did not see them. Slowly, a chill mist began to rise from his body, spreading towards the man and midwife, who scuttled to the other side of the fire, wanting to get away, but now too afraid to run. Okay, cool. All right. Is there a full sentence before the end of that page? Nope, I'm just going to have to read through, which will be fine. But it's like tiny. Okay. Let's try that again. Actually, you know what? This might be the spot that I do it at. Hold on. We can be cool. Let me just do that, and then I'll do this, and then I'll come over here, and then I'll press that, but I'll turn it like down that far. It's right by the mic, so it'll pick up everything as far as the rest. Might have to listen to something that might not correspond as well, but it should still be fine. Let me do this. Dude. Oh, hold on. Yeah, that's a little too... That doesn't make sense. Okay. But I can make it make sense. Bam. Bam. Yeah, no, I know, G. I'm aware. That's why I'm always listening to MF Doom, because he doesn't care. And also, I don't think his estate ever cared. No, this was a random, creepy, misty sort of thing, but I'm thinking I might just do, like, Scape. Or, like, something that kind of sounds like it. Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. Pause. Beginning. He could hear the child crying, which was good. If she had gone beyond the first gateway, he could not bring her back without more stringent preparations and a subsequent dilution of her spirit. The current was strong, but he knew this was... That's another thing, because coordination on that is a little bit harder, but that's fine, because now it's just a scope, and I don't have to worry about as much in the way of, like, lining it all up, which works out in my favor. CG, we think these things out sometimes. Sometimes. Not all the time, though. I'm not very... Current was strong. That's fine, though, because now it means I can actually settle on this page and not have to worry about the fucking page flip. Soundscape is a nice touch. Thanks, G. Okay. The current was strong, but he knew this branch of the river and waded past pools and eddies that hoped to drag him under. Okay. Ow. Alright. Which means, let's go back here. The current was strong, but he knew this branch of the river and waded past pools and eddies that hoped to drag him under. Already, he could feel the waters leeching his spirit, but his will was strong, so they took only the color, not the substance. He paused to listen, and hearing the crying diminish, hastened forward. Perhaps she was already at the gateway and about to pass. The first gate was a veil of mist, with a single dark opening where the river poured into the silence beyond. Abhorsen hurried towards it and then stopped. The baby had not yet passed through, but only because something had caught her and picked her up. Standing there, looming up out of the black waters, was a shadow darker than the gate. It was several feet higher than Abhorsen, and there were pale marsh lights burning where you would expect to see eyes, and the fetid stench of carrion rolled off it. Yes, just 10 seconds. That's all I needed. That's so good, okay? Carrion rolled off it. Okay, carrion, okay. Of carrion rolled off it, a warm stench that relieved the chill of the river. Abhorsen advanced on the thing slowly, watching the child it held loosely in the crook of a shadowed arm. Don't love that. Okay. And also just a little quieter, like by one. Okay. 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 Abhorsen advanced on the thing slowly, watching the child it held loosely in the crook of a shadowed arm. The baby was asleep, but restless, and it squirmed towards the creature, seeking a mother's breast, but it only held her away from itself, as if the child were hot or caustic. Slowly, Abhorsen drew a small silver handbell from the bandolier of bells across his chest, and cocked his wrist to ring it. But the shadow thing held the baby up and spoke in a dry, slithery voice, like a snake on gravel. Spirit of your spirit, Abhorsen. You can't spell me while I hold her. And perhaps I shall take her beyond the gate, as her mother has already gone. Abhorsen frowned in recognition and replaced the bell. You have a new shape, Caragor, and you are now this side of the first gate. Who was foolish enough to assist you so far? Caragor smiled widely, and Abhorsen caught a glimpse of fires burning deep inside his mouth. One of the usual calling, he croaked. But unskilled. He didn't realize it would be in the nature of an exchange. Alas, his life was not sufficient for me to pass the last portal. But now, you have come to help me. I, who chained you by... I who chained you. I who chained you. I who chained you. Okay. I didn't mind that eye. That eye was okay, but the last part of it I could have worked out a little bit something different for. Who chained you beyond the seventh gate?
Yes,
Whispered Karagor.
the irony does not, I think, escape you. But if you want the child,
He made as if to throw the baby into the stream, and, with that jerk, woke her. Immediately she began to cry, and her little fists reached out to gather up the shadow stuff of Karagor like the folds of a robe. He cried out, tried to detach her, but the tiny hands held tightly, and he was forced to overuse his strength and threw her from him. She landed, squalling, and was instantly caught. Ugh. Nope. Where is it? Squalling, and was instantly caught up in the flow of the river. But Abhorsen lunged forward, snatching her from both the river and Karagor's grasping hands. Stepping back, he drew the silver bell one-handed and swung it so it sounded twice. The sound was curiously muffled, but true, and the clear chime hung in the air, fresh and cutting, alive. Karagor flinched at the sound and fell backwards to the darkness that was the gate.
some fool will bring me back, and then...
He cried out as the river took him under. The waters swirled and gurgled and then resumed their steady flow. Abhorsen stared at the gate for a time, then sighed, and placing the bell back in his belt, looked at the baby held in his arm. She stared back at him, dark eyes matching his own. Already, the color had been drained from her skin. Nervously, Abhorsen laid a hand across the brand of her forehead and felt the glow of her spirit within. The charter mark had kept her life contained when the river should have drained it. It was her life spirit that had so burned Karagor. She smiled up at him and gurgled a little, and Abhorsen felt a smile tilting the corner of his own mouth. Still smiling, he turned and began the long wade back up the river to the gate that would return them both to their living flesh. Yeah. So, Misty Forest for, death. Land of Death. I don't understand anything about this book. I do know that there is, a meditative trance area where people can access, the gates of death. Is that somewhat correct, G? Am I crazy? I don't even know if you're still there. Probably not even still there. Let me see. Brandon, are you still here? Brandon, go. What are you doing here, brother? I'm just reading a book. Reading a book for audition fodder and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. I only got 3 pages left, so let's get this done. Then I can just call it. Okay. And then from here to here, we will depress that, I think is what the actual... We're just going to make the sound not be as much. True. Thank you, G. Again, I don't really know anything about like how this goes, but I'm fairly positive I understand that to be true. I've not read this book before, but it's a very good book. I've enjoyed the prologue. I enjoyed the first chapter. I just need to buckle down and read the other chapters, because it's really not a hard or long book, and it's very, very well paced from what I can even tell from this beginning. But let's do this. The baby wailed a scant second before Abhorsen opened his eyes, so that the midwife was already halfway around the dying fire, ready to pick her up. Frost crackled on the ground and icicles hung from Abhorsen's nose. He wiped them off with a sleeve and leaned over the child, much as any anxious father does after a birth. "How is the babe?" he asked, and the midwife stared at him wonderingly, for the dead child was now loudly alive, and as deathly white as he. Okay, and then we will just cut that, but then get ready and have this page already sort of pseudo-turned, so that way I don't have to fucking... "As you hear, Lord," she answered. "She is very well. It is perhaps a little cold for her." He gestured at the fire and spoke a word, and it roared into life, the frost melting at once, the raindrops sizzling into steam. "That will do till morning," said Abhorsen. "Then I shall take her to my house. I shall have need of a nurse. Will you come?" The midwife hesitated and looked to the charter mage, who still lingered on the far side of the fire. He refused to meet her glance, and she looked down once more at the little girl bawling in her arms. You are, whispered the midwife. "A necromancer?" said Abhorsen. "Only of a sort. I love the woman who lies here. She would have lived if she had loved another. But she did not. Sabriel is our child. Can you not see the kinship?" The midwife looked at him as he leant forward and took Sabriel from her, rocking her on his chest. The baby quieted. Ugh, can't talk. Quietened. The baby quietened. The baby quietened. The baby dequietened. The baby quietened. Why does that sound so weird in my fucking head? The baby quietened, and in a few seconds was asleep. "Yes," said the midwife. "I shall come with you and look after Sabriel. But you must find a wet nurse." "And I dare say much else besides," mused Abhorsen. "But my house is not a place for..." The charter mage cleared his throat and moved around the fire. "If you seek a man who knows a little of the charter," he said hesitantly. He said hesitantly. He said hesitantly. He said hesitantly. Hesitantly. He said hesitantly. He said hesitantly. "I should wish to serve, for I have seen its work in you, Lord, though I am loath to leave my fellow wanderers." "Perhaps you will not have to," replied Abhorsen, smiling at a sudden thought. "I wonder if your leader will object to 2 new members joining her band. For my work means I must travel, and there is no part of the kingdom that has felt the imprint of my feet." That has not felt the imprint of my feet. No, he's been places. He's not been places. And there is no part of the kingdom that has not felt the imprint of my feet. Right about there. And there is no part of the kingdom that has not felt the imprint of my feet. It's still weird. And there is no part of the kingdom that has not felt the imprint of my feet. Your work? Asked the man, shivering a little, though it was no longer cold. Yes, said a porson. I am a necromancer, but not of the common kind. Where others of the art raise the dead, I lay them back to rest. And those that will not rest, I bind, or try to. I am a porson. He looked at the baby again, and added, almost with a note of surprise, Father of Sabriel. Prologue. Done. Read. That's the opening prologue. We all good. And then from there, I suppose I'll read chapter 1 after that. And then chapter 2 from there. And then so on and so forth. But, yeah. Sabriel by Garth Nix. I'm going to keep reading through this so long as G and only G shows up. Oh, my light died. Oh, that's alright. Because I can just do this. Pop, 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 pop. Whoa, wow, whoa, that is bright. God, super bright. That's what that looks like. Cool. Alright there, everyone. Brother, I love you. Gee, I love you. Everyone, you all were fantastic. We all made it through it. I'm going to read a little bit more throughout the week, and I'll have things to edit here soon. Thank you for showing up, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, robots. Bye, people. Chapter 1 when? When do you want me to read chapter 1? I will read chapter 1. I can read them at night, but you're not awake at night. I'm awake at night. That's kind of a key differentiator, I would say. But I mean, if I can find time to read throughout the day, I wouldn't mind keeping to read around like the nap time of the little girl, but you know, whatever. We'll see. Again, thank you guys for showing up. I will talk to you later. Bye.